the air conditioner's on and hopefully it will turn off in a sec. Little behind the scenes action for you. I have on my viewfinder everything highlighted in red so that I can see that that's what the camera is focusing on, except there's a lot of red going on here today and so it's hard for me to tell. Also because I'm so far from the camera, like that doesn't look far, it's a meter. I can't see clearly that far. I'm just going to press on even though the air conditioner is on. So you know, we're all about the high quality content here on this channel. Hello, my name's Elizabeth. Let's talk about books. I feel like it's been a while since my beloved coffee has made an appearance in these videos, but rest assured, it is always here, a staple in my life. Today I thought it would be a fun one, since tomorrow is Christmas Eve, whether you celebrate or not, to have a look at all the books that I have been reading for Christmas Eve for the last 10 years. I've been tracking my reading for over a decade now on Goodreads and now on Storygraph. So I've got the data. So let's dig into the data and see what it is that I've been reading on Christmas Eve for the past 10 years. Because in my mind, I have these really nice shots of me, like photos of me sitting in front of the Christmas tree with the lights on and my hefty tome, you know, like the performative reading something worthwhile on Christmas Eve in the calm before the storm, as it were. And I know that it's a tradition in Sweden, I think. God, if it's not Sweden and it's a different Nordic country, I'm going to feel so racist. It's a tradition in Nordic countries to open a book on Christmas Eve and retreat to your cozy place and read your new book. That's not something that we do as a family, as a tradition, but it's cozy AF, isn't it? I love it. So something that I have liked to do in the past is do my little quiet moment in front of the Christmas tree after the child has gone to bed, and often my husband will be in a different room doing something else, who even knows, probably gaming, because for a long time he was a staunch gamer. Now it's actually more likely he'd be sitting next to me reading. So let's look at what I was actually reading. I've compiled a list in my bullet journal, and I got to tell you, I made this list so long ago that I can't remember what's on it. So that's exciting for all of us. So 10 years ago, we're not counting this year, so that would make it 2012. My God, that's 10 years ago. Let's have a look what I was reading on Christmas Eve. Oh, 2012, John Galsworthy's The Forsyte Saga, which is the Forsyte Chronicles 1 to 3. Published in 1921. This is something I've been thinking for the past couple of months. I would really like to reread. It feels like I've been a while since I read it, and now I understand why. It is literally 2012. I would have read that on my Kindle, and I have been hunting for physical versions. I'm pretty sure I put one on my wish list, the Oxford World Classics version. Definitely in my mind to reread it, because I feel like it's even though I love the TV show as well, and it's a pretty good adaptation, I feel like I want to hang out. Maybe not with Soames, but with the rest of them. The Forsyte Saga is a generational family saga. It covers 3 generations of Forsytes. You've got the old guard, the ones who I think earned the money, came into the money. They're a family of lawyers. I think they're just lawyers and businessmen. And the middle generation is where most of the action happens. So one of the Forsytes, Soames, finds a wife, Irene, and it's not a happy marriage. You know that from the start. Irene's really reluctant to make this match. Essentially, Irene affects all their lives. There's the older brothers of the Forsytes, and then the middle generation is the cousins, and then the younger generation is their children, and how they interact or don't interact because of the rifts between the middle generation. And of course, drama ensues, because why else would it be a generational family saga? And if you have no interest in reading it, watch it. There was an ITV, I think, produced version, which is 6 episodes or 8 episodes, and is pretty good, which means I really loved it. But in terms of being a good adaptation of the book, I think it's pretty good as well. Oh, 2013 is a book I have. Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility. I grabbed this copy, the Vintage Classics version, a couple of months ago. But apparently I read it in 2013. That's the only time I've read it. So probably I could give this one a reread too, now that I understand how to read better than I did 10 years ago. I don't remember what happens, so that's an indicator I should reread it. Sisters Eleanor and Marianne Dashwood, and they have to move house, and I just have, which is probably just Jane Austen, images of sitting around in drawing rooms having hard conversations and having to live off the hospitality of friends and family. And eventually they probably get husbands because that's how Jane Austen rolls. All vibes, no plot, right? I don't remember what happened. Okay, 2014, I have Neil Gaiman's The Ocean at the End of the Lane, which I would have read on my Kindle. I remember not enjoying this book at all. I'm not a fan of magical realism, I've discovered. And that's Gaiman, magical realism and a touch of whimsy, dark whimsy. I can't remember anything about this book except the cover is blue. 2015, I have N.K. Jemisin's The 100,000 Kingdoms, which is the first one in the Inheritance trilogy. 2015, that's still a long time ago. What do I remember from this book? The main focus character was female. She had to travel to a palace of either powerful people or gods. There was something to do with the universe, space, planets. There was probably magic. I don't know. I don't even know if I read further in that trilogy. Who can say? 2016. This is something we come to where I have a photo and I will try and find it and put it of me performatively being clever at Christmas. Where is it? It's over there. So this Christmas over 2016, I was reading God's War, A New History of the Crusades by Christopher Tyerman. She's chunky. In fact, you know it's a good book when your footnoted history book gets a Penguin edition. I was studying the Crusades at uni, and so I read this whole thing, which is one of the longest books I have on my shelf. It is 1,024 pages. I read this as exam preparation over January and obviously Christmas Eve. I mean, I got an HG in the subject. It obviously worked. Highly recommend if you want a short history of the Crusades. And I'm not even joking when I say that. What kind of overview can I give you? It covers literally every crusade and then some. It goes right through from the first of the origins of Holy War, the origins of Christian Holy War, which will begin in 1096. Urban II preached the first crusade in 1095. And goes right through to the last chapter is called The Crusading Christian Society in the Later Middle Ages. We are looking at 1498 is the last date in here, which makes sense. The early modern period starts around the 1490s, 1500s with the Tudors and the end of the Tudors, the reign of Elizabeth I. She's the last of the Tudors. See, that makes me look like I spend Christmas Eve reading in an edifying manner, when obviously that's not always the case. Except in 2017, I was reading this one. The book, A Cover-to-Cover Exploration of the Most Powerful Object of Our Time. This is by Keith Houston. This one, I love this so much. It is a history of the book and production of books, and it's just so nice. Look how pretty it is inside. It's got illustrations of everything, but also it's got labels for everything. So on the front, and you probably can't tell much here, but it's got labels for author, head, title, subtitle, like foot, foredge. It'll say here on spine, head cap. But even on the inside, it's got stuff like that too. It's got here where it says introduction, the label says front matter head. That sort of thing. Oh, down here, footnote. Just those little details just makes this one a fun one. It's got some color reproductions of stuff. I haven't read it more than once, but my general feeling about it was that it was an interesting read. It wasn't dry. It was quite witty. The pace was fast. That sort of business. Plus, it's just the typesetting, the formatting is beautiful. It's got like the red caps at the beginning of the section, that sort of thing. It's just so pretty. Then we move on to something just cozy and comforting and makes you feel like it's cozy and winter time, even though obviously in Australia it's usually freaking hot at Christmas. It is, can you see here, this is on my brother Cadfire books, and this book I was reading, The Raven at the Foregate, is not one that I have. I've collected these over the years from library sales. I couldn't even tell you what it was about, except I can tell you what it was about because Brother Cadfire books are about a monk in a medieval monastery in England, very close to the border of Wales, where mysterious things happen. A murder will happen, or a mysterious death, or just a mystery will happen, and then Cadfire will either be allowed to shirk his duties or just go off and shirk his duties as a monk to investigate the situation. Involved in the mystery will be a young man and a young woman, and by the end of the mystery they will run off together and live happily ever after. Cadfire will solve the mystery / murder. He will not have to do much penance for shirking his duties, if he has to do any at all. Everything will be resolved and he'll move on to back to his life at the end. And it's all very cozy and lovely. And that one is number 12 of 21 Brother Cadfire books. All right, according to my list, in 2019, I was reading Throne of the Crescent Moon by Saladin Ahmed, which was the first in the Crescent Moon Kingdoms series. I did not enjoy this. I don't know if it's that I don't enjoy Middle Eastern set fantasy, although some of it's good, or if it was just this author that I just did not vibe with. I feel like the world building was there, but not the characters. The resolution, there's probably Jinn. I feel like there was Jinn. I feel like the resolution of the action and the plot was predictable and just boring. That's the vibes I remember, was just it was predictably boring by the end, and I was just trying to get through it. In 2020, Christmas 2020 was definitely a time, and I was reading probably the new Stormlight Archive. It's got to be the one that had just come out early December or late November. Jeez, it's heavy. That's Oathbringer. I did not read this copy. I read it on my Kindle because it's so heavy. Who have we got on the cover? That must be Yasna? I feel like it is. And this one, also one of the longest books I have on this shelf, at 1,243 pages. The previous Stormlight Archive books, actually I'm just looking down there, the previous Stormlight Archive books were printed in like part 1, part 2, and this is the first one that's had the whole story as one, even though it's longer. So I don't know that paperback binding is going to hold up to the enormity of this book, but it's beautiful. We love it. So what happens in this book? It is an epic fantasy, a huge cast of characters. Starts out with a bloke called Kaladin, who is a slave, punished into slavery for naughty things. And he is taken to the site of an ongoing war. A king was killed and an Alethi king was killed. And so the Alethi have banded together to fight the Pashendi, who are the people who killed the king. But now it's just gone, like, turned into this massive ongoing war of attrition. And anyway, Kaladin's taken here to this war site, and he forms a community with the slaves that he's with to overcome all the odds and survive. But then we also have other characters in the world as well. Shalon comes from, she's not Alethi, she is, I don't remember where she's from. Anyway, she needs to trick the dead king's daughter into helping her with a problem that her father has gotten her into. And so she becomes involved with the royal family, and then of course the war and the machinations of the politics and the war, but also like secret sneaky societies, and it blows out from there. That's basically just the first book. Each book has a different POV. So the first one is mainly Kaladin, the second one is mainly Shalon, the third one is mainly Dalinar, who is the brother to the murdered king. Anyway. Yeah, if you're into epic fantasy and want a big long series to sink your teeth into, this is the one, although there's only 4 out of the 10 planned have been released so far. 5th one's coming November 2024. I tell you what, it's so good that I went to Pilates this morning to work out, because this thing is a workout. It's working my core. Oh my God, I've been waffling on. That's what happens when you give me coffee. 2021, I was reading this, except I didn't read these, I listened to these, and I highly recommend the narration by Ben Miles. Absolutely exquisite. This is Hilary Mantel's Bring Up the Bodies. It's the second in her Thomas Cromwell trilogy. This is way lighter than Oathbringer. This one comes in at only, it's less than 500 pages. Easy peasy. This one starts out with, I think, Henry's marriage to Anne Boleyn. Thomas More has just died. And then finishes with Anne's execution. That is not spoilers, that is actual history. Highly enjoyed this whole trilogy, would read again, and actually would read again soon. So that makes me look like some sort of intellectual reading that over Christmas. Tell you what though, they were really good books to listen to while I was, because it was 2021, there was lockdown still. They were good books to listen to while I was playing Euro Truck Simulator, where I would just be playing my computer, driving my truck across Europe, crashing on the corners and delivering groceries and listening to, like you would listen to an audiobook, driving a real car, except I didn't have to leave my house. That was really nice and chill in the anxious times. We've come to 2022 already. Insane. Last year I was reading, where is it on my shelf? Oh, I've forgotten how to alphabet. That's not helpful. Oh my God, it's literally right here. The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith. This is the story of a librarian in hell. The books in hell in her library are books that are unfinished. And sometimes the books get restless and they wake up and they go and try and find their author, to encourage the author to finish the book. That is what happens here. One of the books wakes up and the hero of the book goes to Earth looking for the author. And so the librarian Claire has to track the book down and recapture it. And in the process takes her library assistant, who is a fallen muse and a demon from hell. They go to Earth, they go and find this book. Shenanigans ensue that ends up in a war between heaven and hell, obviously. Go to places like Valhalla and then the afterworlds. What would you call it? Yeah, like the believed in places of the afterlife of dead religions as well, and what happens when people stop believing in those places. It is part of a trilogy, I think. There's at least one more. I wasn't interested in going further, but this one was really good. I was reading that last year at Christmas. What will I be reading this year on Christmas Eve? Obviously, I'm not filming this the day that it comes out, so what I am planning to be reading is, will I read some non-fiction? What have I got to do? Right, so this is what I'm hoping to be reading. Davinia Evans' Shadow Baron. This is the second in Davinia's trilogy. I don't remember what she's called, the trilogy. The Burnished City, I think. How beautiful is this cover, by the way? This will be in my December haul as well. I'm hoping to get to this one, so maybe we'll make it the Christmas Eve read. Please let me know in the comments what you're intending or what you were reading for Christmas Eve, because I'd love to hear it. Even if you're not somebody who celebrates Christmas, it's just a time to sit. Most of us don't work on Christmas Day. Although if you work in hospitality and you are working Christmas Day, I feel you, because I work in retail, and December, customers should be banned in December. Let me just say that. So I'm feeling you if you do have to work Christmas. But if you don't, and it's just a chill time and you've got time to sit down and cozy in with your book, please let me know what you read, because we love to talk books. And of course, next week, January 1st, is going to be hectic with everybody's end of year wrap up reading and stats and everything, which I'm so excited for. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one.